On today's show, Avengers Infinity War has premiered, and we were on site. Can somebody give Venom their +1? Plus, is it Chewie or is it Hooey? Movie talk starts right now.
Chewbacca?
Little Chewbacca there.
Chewbacca.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Collider Movie Talk. Whether you are watching us right now on YouTube or you're listening to us with your earbuds here on iTunes or any number of our podcast outlets, we are very happy to welcome you into Collider Movie Talk. My name is merely Mark Ellis. These are the real stars of the show, Perri Nemiroff and John Rocha, who had the pleasure of being at the Avengers Infinity War premiere and the after party, and somehow we're able to get ourselves out of bed and walk over into this studio to broadcast for you, the viewer. Now, here's what I'll tell you guys before we get into the Infinity War premiere talk is that we're not spoiling nothing. We actually are still technically under embargo for an official review of the movie, so I'm not even going to give you an inkling as to how I felt about the movie. I just want to talk about the experience of being there on the red or purple, in this case, carpet, and everything that went down at the premiere, the spectacle, the event, the after party. John Rocha had some good times there. I'm looking forward to talking about that aspect of it, and then maybe we'll get into some of the reaction last night, because the social media embargo did lift last night as soon as the movie got out. So as soon as the movie was out and we got our phones back, we were free to tweet or Instagram our feelings about it, unless your provider is Sprint. Because I couldn't get service all night at the after party, and I didn't want to be one of those people walking around just like with my phone. They're like trying to tweet, hey, I can't talk to anybody, I got to see my reaction. So I just put my phone away, realized it wasn't my night, and had a good time at the after party. So I turn it over to you, Perri Nemiroff. Oh, not only did you enjoy a glass of Prosecco for every Bud Light I had, we also had some good times at the after party. But we, going to this thing, you know, everybody's taking pictures on the carpet. There's some nice memorabilia from all the last decade of Avengers leading up to this. What was your mindset like as the lights went down and we were about to start this movie?
Oh, we had been sitting there waiting for a long time, because as it goes with pretty much every single premiere we've ever been to, it's called for one time and it starts about an hour later. But I think one of the coolest things that they did right before starting the movie was pretty much every single person from the main cast took the stage, and it was just something about having Sam Jackson be the one to usher them in through voiceover, and just the way they were hitting the stage, the way the lighting was changing, the way that opening was directed. I just feel like it was the perfect way to be like, look at what you're about to get into, and then they rolled into the movie. Yeah,
and there were some nice speeches, but Robert Downey Jr. was hilarious, talking about the last 10 years, and some very nice emotional, poignant tinges there. He gave he ushered a round of applause from the crowd to Jon Favreau, who was in the audience watching, because he, as Robert Downey Jr. said, is really the reason why all this exists. Nice to see the Russo brothers give a quick speech. Then they turn it over to Kevin Feige, and Kevin Feige simply has a mic and he says, all right, let's start the movie. And then we get the movie, Rocha. I'm going to give a reaction that somebody tweeted last night, and we did a Collider video that you guys can check out from some of our crew here that was watching all the social media reactions come in. This one is from a young lady who I respect a lot named Perri Nemiroff. Hello. And her tweet was, after 10 years of investment in this series and these characters, boy, does Avengers Infinity War knock you on your ass. Humor, sky-high stakes, and a truly overwhelming amount of emotion in it. Russos did a great job spreading screen time for the ensemble, but my MVPs, the Guardians.
Yeah.
So, John Rocha, your take.
Well, Perri and I, because Perri and I are super hyper-aware of spoilers, exchanged phones to read each other's tweets before we tweeted them to make sure that we weren't giving anything away, but we were highlighting what we loved about the movie.
And also spelling errors.
And spelling errors,
later I tried tweeting the hashtag Avengers Infinity War again, and I spelled it wrong, and I was all mad at myself.
Yeah, that happens. But I think Perri absolutely nailed it. Knocks you on your ass. I tweeted out that I thought it was incredible 3 times. I thought it was incredible, and a lot to love about this movie and enjoy. And it was like, all I can talk about is the experience. What Perri mentions, like having all that cast up there. Of course, Anthony Mackie was at CinemaCon, and Chris Evans is in a play on Broadway, so they couldn't be there. But everyone else pretty much was there, and it was great to see them all accumulate. And you saw the risers, and then it took an hour to start the movie. And I think Feige, that's why he's so brilliant to have that ending that way, because he knew the fans were waiting. And when the lights went down, and the thing is, what we do for a living here, it's a gift and a blessing that we get to go to these things. But these nights really remind us why. And it's because we love this stuff. We're massive nerds. We get to enjoy this. We get to throw that professional thing away and just get caught up in the crowd and enjoy it. And to be one of the few people in the world at this point to have seen this movie was really a gift and a blessing, And to be around people like all the people from the Collider family, other people from other sites, it was great to talk about it afterwards in the after party. Peter Serretta from Slash Film, like sitting and talking with him. That's the most we've talked about a film in like a year because we just kept going on and on about all the things. So to me, it was just an incredible experience all around. It was an awesome joy to be there.
And that after party, it's a nice wristband to have because that's really the only place in the entire world you can talk about the movie and not worry about, oh, wait, have you seen it? Like everybody who was in that one little building had seen the movie. And I echo Rocha's sentiments entirely. Like, look, I'll be honest with you guys. I don't work that hard, okay? But the few times that I have put in effort, it made it all worth it for experiences like last night because it was just fun, being around my buds and then also getting to see something like what Perri echoed is just a 10-year-long culmination and to see it all come together on that stage with all these incredibly talented people all coming together. I loved what Robert Downey Jr. said because he said that we're not in competition with each other, we're in competition for each other. And it's like it's so cool to see. There's a lot of egos on that stage for everybody to just be able to take that off and just come together as a team. And then you see the movie and you realize that, yes, this is a huge spectacle and the last 10 years has been worth it because we get something like this. And it's what any movie franchise is now aiming for. I don't know that any other movie franchise or endeavor can get to where we've gotten with the MCU the last 10 years. It's a daunting task, but it's something to shoot for.
Yeah, you saw that also right before we went into the screening with the purple carpet because when we were walking down there, I just figured, every single one of these costumes I'm going to see is from Infinity War. And it was a really nice touch that there was something represented from, I think, every single Marvel movie. And it's just, you put all of that together and you got to give them a round of applause for how strong their track record is. And the thing about Robert Downey Jr.'s speech, too, is because, they're part of the movie. They're going to say nice things. That transcended that and hit the point of being so genuine and him expressing things that made me feel like he was so truly thankful. And you kind of look at him up on that stage as a leader of that crew and basically turning to everybody and saying, it's cool to be in this. It's cool to be a big celebrity thanks to Marvel. But he said something along the lines of, what that essentially means nothing unless you do something good with it. And I hope that every single person that is part of this franchise really takes that to heart because I think that's important.
Yeah, the unity aspect of what he spoke about was really powerful. And, you got to remember Robert Downey Jr.'s story. Remember, before Iron Man, he was suffering through substance abuse. He'd had numerous run-ins with the law because of that. People loved him in this town and kept giving him chances, kept wanting him to get better, kept wanting him to find heal. And he found his wife and all that happened. And piece by piece, step by step, he put his life together. So if nothing else, that speech was really powerful when you take in the scope of Downey Jr.'s entire life and you see that if you push forward, if you find a way out, if you really take care of yourself, if you do the things you need to do and you work hard, you can climb out of anything, and who knows what gifts and blessings are waiting for you at the end of it. And for him to turn around and give so much love to, first of all, to the female half of the Captain Marvel directing team, to give love to Wakanda and the joke about Tropic Thunder, Jesus, that was just almost tore the house down, and all the love he gave to everybody on the stage, and then finding that moment for Favreau. All of that tells you a man who understands and he said, like, 30 years of toil, an actor prepares all that, but these are the moments that are worth it, and these are the moments why I love doing what I do. And so that's another gift to be in the room, to see someone like Robert Downey Jr. just really kind of bare his soul in a vulnerable way for everybody to step inside of it, and have them be a symbol for what he wants to see in the world, too.
And I do have, hot off the press, a tweet from John Rocha that Perri Nemiroff spell checked. My God, hashtag Avengers Infinity War was incredible. Incredible. The visuals, the story, the guts, the action is nonstop. The movie grips you, never lets you go. Everyone gets a moment to shine. And That's the best film the MCU has ever done. Kudos to my good friend Mark Ellis on being so handsome. Well, thank you for putting that in there as well. A little bit of housekeeping as far as the MCU goes, because there's been some announcements regarding Phase 4, and I feel like a lot of the stuff that is going to pertain to Phase 4, people may not want to hear, so I'm not going to get into any of that. The only thing that I will mention is that there's some new properties that are being bandied about that Kevin Feige said are currently being talked about at the higher offices of Marvel and Disney. Those include Nova and Eternals. Now, Rocha, what can you tell us about the Eternals? I kind of go to you. You're the PhD in this.
Oh, yeah, the Eternals are like centuries old in the telling of that story, and it's two separate races and what happened there. They get involved with Thor, with Asgard, so there's a lot that's involved. So it's a very old race to climb down to Earth and all this. So there's so much to explore here with the Eternals. So many different. And if you haven't read the Eternals, you need to get on the Eternals. Jack Kirby did that, and you need to get on top of it and get involved in it. I think John Romita did a version of it as well, so you got to get on top of that as well. There's such great content to be involved in. Their powers and abilities are incredible. So they inbreed and create humans. Like, there's so much about this that's involved, and it can be a bit convoluted, but in the right hands, which I think they do have the right hands with MCU, it'll be fun to see how they connect this stuff with Eternals. I think the Guardians will be involved. Maybe even the original Guardians with Stakar Ogard with the Stallone's character. Definitely Thor. Odin is obviously passed on in Ragnarok, so I don't know what's going to happen, how they're going to connect all that with Asgard, but that will be interesting as well. But it does provide what the MCU has done consistently over the last 5 years, which is to expand and expand and expand. A lot of people are saying, well, Phase 4, I wanted to come back to this. If we're going Eternals, we're going even farther out.
Going
Eternals,
deeper. It's also something that, like, I've been aware of the Eternals, the same way I was aware of Guardians of the Galaxy. But that's going to be the challenge with Marvel if this is the direction they want to go, or they want to announce these new kind of properties that are going to be involved in Phase 4. Perri, is that you have to let the general public know that these aren't just the characters that we grew up with; that these are some new people we're going to have to introduce everyone to.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Based on all the talk we're hearing right now, it does look like they're heading in a more cosmic direction, which I think is probably the smarter move to keep it fresh and different. But we are also a pretty long ways away from Phase 4. We have this Fox-Disney deal happening. Yeah. I just have a feeling that it makes a lot of sense for them to be batting around a million ideas and to have things in active development so that they're ready to go when the time comes. But I think in those quotes he broke down the percentages where it's like they're focused 90% on the movies that they've already announced and like 10% on what's to come. And I think that 10% still contains a lot of different ideas that they're going to keep developing until something sparks and they see something special in it. So I'm sure we're talking about Nova, we're talking about Eternals, we're going to be talking about, I don't even know how many characters and properties until it finally happens and something is official. But I think this is a sign of what direction they're looking to take the MCU.
Yeah, I just remember when they announced like the slate at El Capitan, years ago, and all these movies come out. We're so excited. There's that one movie, Inhumans, and then that just kind of, we're not. Don't pay no attention to that. Let's think about Nova or Eternals or something else. So, whole lot of exciting stuff to get to with Phase 4 as the weeks and months and years unfold. In the meantime, Venom. Who the hell is he? We don't know. Is he going to be I don't know. All we know is that there's a new trailer that was released this morning, starring Tom Hardy, directed by Ruben Fleischer. The supporting cast includes Michelle Williams, Riz Ahmed, and Jenny Slate, amongst other notables. And I found this trailer to be pretty cool. A lot of the reason is because it's Tom Hardy, and I buy anything that guy's in. He fully commits. I like Riz Ahmed as a creepy-ish doctor whose motives are somewhat questioned, and I think that the way that the Venom suit actually comes to embody who Eddie is, and it starts speaking to him, I thought was pretty well done in the trailer. We mentioned after the first trailer had come out that we didn't get to see Venom, and some people were disappointed. Some people loved that they held it back. Did they show us too much in this trailer, Perri?
Too much? No. I thought I was going to be in the minority on this one because I know some folks in this office don't really like the trailer, but I really dug it, and it's probably no surprise to anybody out there. Part of the reason why I was really into it is because I thought they really successfully brought the horror of it to life, especially when you get that Venom reveal at the end. I thought he looked great. And something about it and the way that Tom Hardy is starting to interact with the symbiote reminded me of the Lee Winnell movie with Logan Marshall Green. Now the name is escaping me.
Oh.
that we just covered. Anyway, I think Logan Marshall Green looks a lot like Tom Hardy too. So just when he has that moment where he's processing the I versus the we and figuring out how this whole thing works, it reminded me a lot of that. But this feels kind of fresh and different to me. I've never really seen, I know, anti-hero or villain, but I've never really seen a comic book movie quite like this, or at least that's the sense I'm getting right now. I want to see more Michelle Williams, because after I Feel Pretty, I am on such a Michelle Williams kick where I am full well ready to believe she can do just about anything and bring a lot to a movie. But so far, I am in for Venom. I liked it.
You were thinking of Upgrade, I believe.
Thank you, yes.
Oh, yeah.
John Rocha, so do you think that they showed too much of Venom, not enough Venom? And what do you make of the timing? Is this done on purpose that the Infinity War premiere was last night and then we wake up and we have this Venom trailer in a different world?
Yeah, yes, I think it was done on purpose, and also because 8 seconds of it leaked online yesterday, unfortunately, which please stop posting that stuff, that we're not going to get these trailers early if you keep doing this crap. And I think they screened it at CinemaCon, so obviously they had to drop it. So the timing is interesting. I don't think this is as powerful a film to go up against Infinity War or the premiere of Infinity War. But it was nice to get a little bit of comic book stuff in addition to the movie. I am one of these people that didn't like the trailer at all. I was on the fence about the first trailer. But this one, I thought it felt like Spawn all over again from the 90s, which I don't like as a superhero movie. The thing coming over his face, Venom, just the whole look of it, it feels very like someone drew clay. It looks like claymation to me, and so it just doesn't do it for me. And the audio looked like they were dubbing over the trailer. So it was just a little weird with that. Jenny Slate feels out of place. I don't buy Riz Ahmed as a villain at all that I should be afraid of at all. It's kind of a weak villain in my, and I loved him in The Night Of, and Riz Ahmed's a great actor. What was it, Night Watch? What was the one with Jake Gyllenhaal? The one that he did.
Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler.
He's a
great
scientist. He's not like gonna beat
but
up
I
Venom.
gotta feel like I like he creeps me out in some way, and he doesn't. He's just like, I can't wait to do all these things. And so to me, it just kind of felt a little bit. And I love Tom Hardy to pieces. So we'll see what he does with this. And Michelle Williams, of course, such a great actress. But to me, it felt underwhelming. And from beginning to end, it felt underwhelming. And that's the thing. Because I'm very familiar with Venom.
But they go into this thing where Eddie's going to have this dynamic where he's trying to fight against himself. And I like that there's that scene in the trailer where he says, like, no, we're only going to use this for good, right?
Oh, yeah,
and there's certainly we can do whatever we want. I thought that was such a cool element to bring into a comic book story.
I did too, and I did like that. I will not deny, like him walking down the street and having this, we're going to do this, and then he's like up against the wall. Oh no, we're going to do this my way or whatever. But then did you catch the Carnage thing? That girl that jumps out on all the red, that's Carnage. So that's going to play into it as well. So look, there are some things to enjoy about the trailer. I just felt overall, I wanted something a little stronger, and maybe coming out of Infinity War, because I saw it right after the after party, right after the movie. And then again this morning, I'm just comparing it, and it just feels a little underwhelming for me.
Well, it probably feels really small compared to that.
Well, and small would
which
be
is
fine.
why I think I responded strongly to this trailer and also the one before, because one of my favorite parts about the one before is how well they put you in Tom Hardy's shoes. And that pretty much this trailer is an extension of that one, where you start to dig a little deeper and understand the relationship between him and the symbiote a little more. And it's like with Riz Ahmed, we got like an itty-bitty amount of Riz Ahmed. And same thing with Jenny Slate, too. I'm excited to see Jenny Slate pop up in different things, because I'm a big fan of hers. But
Me too.
I'm not going to judge those two yet until we see more material with them in it. And, I mean, really, I don't really know what every little bit of their character is about and what they're gunning for just yet. So until I get a little more of that, I'm going to hold judgment on them.
I'm confused about the Spider-Man look. What is Spider-Man's, because why would Venom have the Spider-Man look if he hasn't had contact with Spider-Man? Because in the original version of Venom, it's a symbiote that gets grafted to Spider-Man in the Secret Wars from like the 80s or 90s, and then comes down to Earth and becomes the costume for Spider-Man. Then you find out it's Venom, this other thing. But it's really odd that it already has a Spider-Man face. It has the Spider-Man kind of logo on. So where's that coming from?
Will that be
Do we
explained?
see Tom? Yeah, so I'm saying,
In
are
the
we getting Tom
movie.
Holland? Are we getting Spider-Man? So yeah, but they're kind of giving it away that he's gonna have a
You
presence.
saying we have to see the whole movie to know what happens? Well, that's very disappointing. Look, the bottom line with the trailer is did this movie make you want to see it more or less than you did? Because you might not like the trailer,
right?
But the actual movie, did this movie sell more tickets, or did this trailer sell more tickets to the movie, or less?
I think it was fighting an uphill battle, and I think this wasn't the trailer to push it over the hill. I just don't think so. I think most people are underwhelmed by it. Like you said, Perry, most of The Office wasn't.
Well, I'm curious to see if that comes from the fact of just knowing a lot about the source material and having certain ideas in your head, because I'm coming from the other perspective where my only Venom was Spider-Man 3 Venom. I mean, I know a little from the research I've done just covering movies over the years, but I don't have any special attachment to this character. So I am wondering if, maybe this is the trailer that will bring in genre lovers more so than just fans of Venom.
Well, the movie is coming out October 5th. 2018. It's going up against A Star is Born, starring Bradley Cooper, and Bad Times at the El Royale, starring Chris Hemsworth. So it's got to go up against Chris Hemsworth in a Bradley Cooper movie, but just not Chris Hemsworth and Bradley Cooper in an Avengers movie, so that's a little bit easier. Our next story involves a galaxy far, far away and a whole lot of actors who are getting credit with one notable exception, and that would be everyone's favorite Wookiee, Chewbacca. So a number of these cool-looking character posters were released for Solo, and I think they look dynamite. It looks like they're capturing the correct vibe of the tone of the movie that they're going for. And then people started questioning, well, everybody's credited, Donald Glover and Alden Ehrenreich, and everybody is credited as their character on the poster, except for Chewbacca. It just says Chewbacca. So what's the deal with that? I think the thing that really got a lot of people's antennas up is that we do have somebody who is credited just in a voiceover capacity. And that is, I believe, Jon Favreau is playing a character, but that's all mocap. So it's like, if you can give Jon Favreau credit, why can't you give the actor who plays Chewbacca, who is Joonas Suotamo, why can't you give that person credit? And to me, the answer is very simple. Joonas Suotamo isn't bringing a lot of people to the movie in the same way that if you see Jon Favreau's name, you're like, oh, I know Jon Favreau. He directs movies. He stars in movies. He was great in Rudy. I'm going to go see this movie. This is Chewbacca, and there's just certain things that are very weird that you see Chewbacca and you want to believe that's a real Wookiee. I really think that's what this boils down to, is that this is a marketing play by saying, we don't want to kind of show the facade behind the mask and say, no, this is just a person playing Chewbacca. Now, if this was Peter Mayhew playing Chewbacca, I wonder if it would have been a different decision. I think that this is just Lucasfilm saying, hey, we want you to think this goddamn Wookiee is a real walking carpet, and that's why they do it, and I don't have a big problem with it. Do you, Perry?
If that is the case, then take everybody's name off of it. I understand that his name does not sell the movie quite like, let's say, Woody Harrelson, but still, he is a person working in this industry. He has a craft, he has an art, and if every other person on that cast gets to be recognized on a character poster and just one name is left off, that's weird, because these are character banners that I'm assuming are going to be hanging from the rafters of certain theaters, and when you see them all lined up, because that was the first thing that crossed my mind when I was scrolling through these posters the other day, is I couldn't even appreciate the design, because one of the first things that caught my eye was, well, every single role says this person as this character. Why doesn't someone who's playing Chewbacca get credit?
Because Chewbacca's real. He's a real Wookiee.
Yeah, but then you could apply that mentality to every single person. If you don't want to take the realism away from, oh, I believe that is Chewbacca, it's a real Wookiee, then you know what? Take Favreau's name off of it too. Take Phoebe Waller-Bridge's name off of it too.
But okay, here's the thing: is that Favreau's playing a new character, so we have no attachment to that character. We have such an attachment in history with Chewbacca, and I think that you do obviously need to announce that there's famous people who are playing iconic roles, and we know that that's not Harrison Ford. So tell us who's playing Han Solo. But this is something that I think is clearly aimed more towards kids. Is that kids want to see Chewbacca and they just want to dream that that's Chewbacca.
It's disrespectful to the individual that put in all that hard work.
It comes off as a little I don't dispute the fact that it comes off a little disrespectful, but it also it's like, you know what you signed up for. You're not signing up to be made famous by playing Chewbacca. You're not going to be a famous movie star because you're tall and you put on a Wookiee costume. You might be great as Chewbacca, but that's not going to skyrocket your face or your name to stardom.
You're not going to be famous, maybe, but in the same way that someone like an Alden Ehrenreich could get a bigger career boost from this role if he does a good job, but it is, because we have this conversation with motion capture. I mean, this is pretty much an extension of what we were talking about with Andy Serkis, where, we're never going to recognize him because motion capture isn't the same as a person looking like themselves playing a character, which I don't agree with. And I think the same kind of respect should be given to this guy he is in the suit as Chewbacca. He is performing as Chewbacca, and I think he deserves the credit.
I think that's ridiculous. I really do. To make that compare. Oh, no. Wait a minute. I want to say this. I'm not denigrating Perry's opinion. I respect Perry's opinion. I just don't agree thoroughly with that opinion because it's a different situation. A, he doesn't speak English, right? This Jon Favreau character.
What does that matter?
no.
Listen, and let me finish my point. Jon Favreau is going to speak whatever language, and they're gonna subtitle it. They never subtitle Chewbacca, never. They rely on someone else like, oh, you're cold, like we saw in Force Awakens.
So
when he
it's
says
not
that
English. It's that he doesn't
Wookiee
speak a language that anybody on Earth can interpret.
Exactly,
Okay.
and so they rely on other people to like say what he's saying, right? They've never done that. So and they never gave Peter Mayhew credit in any of the posters either. They didn't even give him a medal at the end of A New Hope. So we know what they think of Chewbacca. But I think this is a lot of nonsense, a lot of upset about nothing. It's nowhere near what Circus is doing in the Apes movies because he does speak English, he does communicate, he does do the mocap with him. This guy's in a suit. That's a way another ball game than mocap. And so to me, I think it's not an issue at all. And people love Chewbacca, and I bet this guy has no issue not having his name on a thing because you're right, Mark. People want to believe this thing is real. They have this like kind of acceptance in their mind that Chewbacca is Chewbacca, and I don't need to know who plays Chewbacca. In fact, if they'd put his name up there, that would have bothered me because it would have taken me out of the thing of seeing Chewbacca on the poster.
I can say this with all certainty as a kid who grew up with all of the classic trilogy Star Wars posters in my room. Peter Mayhew's name is on the posters, but it's just it's not listed as like Peter Mayhew as Chewbacca.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
His name is on the poster.
Sure.
So credit is
Anthony
due.
Daniels.
Credit is due, but I just think with these particular character posters, I don't think that it's necessary. I think it's kind of a funny. It's a wink. It's a nod at the expense of somebody. Yes, but you know again what you're signing on for. You're not signing on here to be made for everybody who needs to know who this person is, knows who this person is, and everybody else can just have this fun fantasy that Chewbacca is a real Wookiee.
It's not about being made famous. It's just being credited and given the respect you should get for your hard work. That's it. It's also not a reason to be like, oh, Han Solo is going to be a terrible movie. It's just, if we're discussing it, I definitely think it's not fair.
But he is credited. He's on the official list as credited as Chewbacca.
So would you not want to credit Doug Jones as the
Doug Jones
fishman
is a different situation.
No, it's not.
How is it a different situation, though?
It's a different situation. He's not wearing a furry outfit. He's wearing
So
something
he's
else
wearing a
that is
fishy
tailored to
scaly
his body.
outfit. What's
It is
happening?
tailored and built to his body, and he's doing something different.
Oh, and
I'm
he
sure
does
there is
sign
a-
language too, so we should give him credit for that.
Look, if you want to go put on a costume on Hollywood Boulevard and tell me you're doing the same thing Doug Jones is doing, get out of here. That's ridiculous.
What does that have to do with
I'm sure the
anything?
Chewbacca costume was somewhat tailored.
Sure,
to
sure, and he's put it on, and then he's moving around and doing whatever. I'm not saying he's not acting or performing. Of course he is. He's probably doing great work as Chewbacca. From the things I saw in the trailers, it looks great. But Doug Jones is a different situation, and they don't. And remember, they didn't mention Doug Jones on his first stuff that he was doing. It wasn't until later when he became a name and they started highlighting him in publications and media that all of a sudden became. So don't act like he was getting credit from day one for the stuff he was doing. He was in the same boat as Peter Mayhew, as this guy is, as the guy who did the first Alien movie, the Nigerian guy that was 7'7". He didn't get any credit till much, much later that he was in the outfit as Alien. So those kinds of things don't get that much credit in Hollywood until you earn a name. Doug Jones earned his name.
Well, with
That's
The
why they
Shape
say
of
his
Water,
name.
I mean, that's not a movie that's marketed towards kids.
Well,
Hellboy,
Hellboy, too.
There's fish sex. Well, Hellboy is also rated R. I mean, Hellboy, it is based on prior material, but it's not to the level of something that is celebrated all over the world like Star Wars is. So I just think that this boils down to the fact that people want their Chewbacca to be Chewbacca, and that's really all there is to it. Perry, you make great points. That, like, you know, if you had Shape of Water character posters like this, you should credit Doug Jones.
I would want. Well,
That's
really,
fair.
I did want to see Doug Jones get more credit, and the makeup stuff really blew my mind that they didn't get credit for that either. But I wouldn't be surprised if you could at least dig up like a Hellboy 2 poster with Doug Jones as Abe Sapien on it.
Right, that's where he started making his name, was the Hellboy
Yeah, but
stuff. But before Hellboy, he was in a number of other things that he wasn't
Yeah,
credited
but
for.
it kind of speaks to the time that we're going through right now, where we are recognizing things like motion capture more so than ever.
Yes.
And I do think that whether you're talking about a digital effect or a practical, like a costume thing, I do think we're hitting a point where everybody's starting to recognize that there's so many different versions of this acting craft, and I think that they all should be recognized.
Absolutely, I don't disagree with that at all. I just don't know that this is the one the hill that you want to die
Just
on.
like speaking for me. Well, no, voice acting.
Yeah.
Voice acting, because
Sure.
that's another thing that is a completely different form of acting, but I do think that that's something that should be recognized when we're getting into award season. And it's
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was one of those ones that was hitting the drum for Scarlett Johansson and Her. I thought she should have been nominated for Best Actress for what she did in that movie. And one of the top 3 performances that year, even though it was only vocal.
I feel like this movie is a lot more similar to a Muppet movie than it is to the movie Her. And so when you see a poster for the Muppets, you see Amy Adams as this person or Jason Segel as this person.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's also starring Kermit the Frog. There you go. Okay. Move on to our next story. And this is, I'm rooting for Junice Suetama, by the way. I think Chewbacca might be the best part of the new Solo movie. Our next story is a trailer for the movie Crazy Rich Asians, which is a new romantic comedy from director John M. Chu. He did Now You See Me Too, and the movie stars Constance Wu as a New Yorker who goes on a date to a wedding in Singapore. She brings along her boyfriend, and she finds out that her boyfriend hails from a very wealthy family. The boyfriend is played by Henry Golding. This movie has a huge ensemble cast, and it looks like a whole lot of fun. I think that this movie could be one of those. It comes out August 17th, so it's primed for that spot where it's one of those late summer movies that just steals some weekends, and it keeps accumulating box office and fans along for the ride. So I think it's going to get good word of mouth. Just judging from the trailer, I think that of this or Venom, I like the Venom trailer. I like the Crazy Rich Asians trailer more today. What do you say, Perri?
I don't think I can compare the two because they're so wildly different, but I really liked this trailer. I like the idea. I know it comes from source material that I'm not familiar with, but I like the idea of like some of the story elements do feel familiar, but then they spice it up with their own flavor and something different that we really don't get to see in this industry enough. And I think that the two pairing together will work very, very well. And the one that comes to mind like that is Love, Simon, where it tells a different version of a typical high school experience, and it kind of it made that more bold and clear and interesting than it might have been in another form. So I was kind of applying that thought to this trailer, but this looks great. I think the visuals, it doesn't feel like a cookie cutter comedy to me. There's some real life and energy to it. And I was getting such a kick out of Awkwafina. And I didn't know anything about her before except for the fact that she's going to be in Ocean's 8. But I'm like, who is that? And then I looked it up.
Yeah, and it's got one of these vibes that like you could look at, like Perri said, it's not a cookie cutter movie, so it's not like My Big Fat Greek Wedding, the second one. It's like the first one, which is good.
Yeah, and here, breaking news: no matter what culture or heritage you're from, we all have universal things we go through. We all have that mother-in-law. We all have that that rich person who has like these things that they have to deal with. There's the person who kind of trying to kind of move above their station a little bit in life and gets confronted by people who are egotistical or elitist or
Who's
whatever.
the rich person who's got things you have to deal with in your life?
I don't want to say
They're
his
not
name.
be pointing to me. This is from Target.
I said rich. So that kind of stuff. We all have this stuff. That's what I enjoyed. And we all have that best friend who helps us out in these situations, talks us through, helps us recover who we are as a person, not lose who we are as a person as we go into this. And
thank you, Perri, for being there.
for being there.
I'm your
Absolutely.
Awkwafina.
Yeah, you're my Awkwafina. Always. You're like, that Wookiee is a real person. That's what she's like. So all that stuff. But that's what I loved about this trailer. The trailer is universal. It is universal. Yes. Is it specifically Asian? Do they deal with the Asian stuff? Yes, of course. But that's more about specificity in the culture. But the universal human stuff is all there. And we've seen these notes in other movies, these beats, emotional beats in other movies. So to me, it excites me that something like this is coming out. I hope Black Panther was finally the thing that broke the dam and the water's coming out and people realize we can do these films. La Bamba is all about the Latino experience and all that was going on. It's a biopic, but it's still the Latino experience. There's so much that happens in these movies and with these cultures that I think now something like Crazy Rich Asians, I'm glad it can come out, be celebrated. People will go see it. And if it makes a lot of money, maybe studios finally go, hey, you know what? Maybe we should start doing more of these things. Not at the cost of other type of films, but we can just add this to the slate, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I like that it's coming out, like I said, August 17th, and that it's going up against the Happy Time Murders, which stars, it's kind of a thriller starring Melissa McCarthy and Maya Rudolph, amongst others. I think the Crazy Rich Asians could steal that weekend. Yeah. Now, obviously, we know it's all going to be in the shadow of The Meg, because that giant shark movie comes out August 10th, the week before. That's going to be number one at the box office, probably until the end of the year. Well, number one at the box office for a good chunk of 2017 was the movie It, based on Stephen King's acclaimed novel, and Stephen King's The Tommyknockers has now been acquired by Universal. This, according to Deadline, Universal has acquired the rights, and the 1987 sci-fi horror novel has James Wan producing it under his Atomic Monster banner. The trade is also reporting that James Wan is being eyed to direct the Tommyknockers. John Rocha, James Wan going back to his horror roots with the Tommyknockers. Is this the right fit?
Well, I'm going to speak about this very carefully because my friend to the right is the real horror expert on this panel. But I will say, for the limited experience I've had with James Wan, this excites me. The miniseries didn't get enough love, and it's a good miniseries with Jimmy Smits and Marge Helgenberger. And there's a lot going on here in this story, and there's a lot that can really work nowadays as well. This idea of this thing coming in, influencing the town to be a certain way, to turn on each other, this kind of stuff, because they're all not part of the group speak or the group think rather. They're all not like following. Who is the person who's not following us? Why are they not? We have to convert them. All this kind of stuff can really play with what's happening now. So I think James Wan will do a great job of having the social commentary as well as the horror commentary that this book is about. But it's going to be interesting how Stephen King reacts to this, because he wrote this when he was knee-deep in his substance abuse phase. So he doesn't really recognize this as one of his best works yet. Yet a lot of people do.
Some other people do.
So
look,
it's good.
I don't want to encourage anybody who's a young artist out there, but I'm also, look, sometimes... Look at the Beatles, latest albums. Look at the late '60s for the Beatles. Look at some of Hemingway stuff. Doesn't always pan out horribly, is all I'm saying. Perri, the Tommyknockers and James Wan, do you want him to direct this movie?
Yes, I want him to direct this. I actually think he's going to wind up being better off having left the genre, done his Fast and Furious movie, done Aquaman, and then coming back with a fresh mindset, having had new experiences under his belt. And it's not that he wasn't a great horror director before. Yeah. That Conjuring movie, especially the first one, is one of my all-time favorite horror movies. It was my #1 movie of 2013. He has such incredible style in that, and I want to see that in more genre movies right now. I'm looking forward to Aquaman, but he's got to come home. He's got to come home, and I think a Stephen King property is the way to do it. I haven't read Tommyknockers yet. I'm slowly chipping away at all the Stephen King books I haven't read, and I say slowly because they're all insanely long. And I think one of the quotes I read from him about Tommyknockers is that it's something like a 700-page book and 300 pages is a good story. So I will read it for those 300 pages, but I got to get through Pet Sematary first, which so far, so good. I'm liking it. It's really interesting to me, though, that we keep talking about it and how it has kind of sparked, not that anybody stopped adapting Stephen King's stuff before, but it sparked a new kind of like, let's get our hands on this property, because most of the time when we're talking about, one filmmaker or one franchise, it's all at one studio. And right now we have this industry where Stephen King properties are pretty much spread throughout almost all of the major studios right now. Like Warner Brothers has one, Paramount has Pet Sematary, now Universal has something. So it's interesting to see who snatches up what and who's going to find the most success.
Yeah, I think Stephen King's going to be well-to-do for a couple of years. And he might be the rich friend that Rocha was talking about. Perri, do you think that why is it that now we have more confidence in Stephen King properties than we did? Because Stephen King properties have always been pretty good horror fare, but then when they get adapted into movies, it was hit or miss there for a long time, and you could argue more misses than hits. So are we just taking it more seriously now, or are we just looking at how great it was and forgetting about The Dark Tower entirely?
I think it's it. I think it is 100% it. And the fact that The Dark Tower isn't really horror per se, or at least the movie wasn't made. I'm sure maybe it has horror elements to it, but the movie that I saw was not that. So I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit of a challenge for these studios, because the thing about it versus Tommyknockers, and also I guess you could put Pet Sematary into that group too, is it had Pennywise. You could know nothing about the It story, but almost every single person out there, I would like to bet, knows the image of Pennywise, whether we're talking about the new Pennywise or the Tim Curry Pennywise. So that was a special adaptation that I think had more of a chance to succeed than any of these other ones do. But that's not to say if they don't make good adaptations, they could also be hits. But I think it hit a level that might not be achievable for some of these others.
And I'm going to say something that might offend Perri and some of the horror fans out there.
Surprise.
We have better filmmakers approaching this stuff now. Horror is becoming, and Perri is converting me step by step, day by day, into appreciating the horror genre more. That it's not just this kind of niche thing at the end of the video store. It's actually now becoming something that is financially viable, artistically viable, and you're seeing these great filmmakers cutting their teeth on horror, in the horror genre, being offered bigger movies with James Wan as Aquaman as an example. But the Muschietis are now, I'm sure, going to be offered so many things after they're done with the sequel. Or Andy Muschietti, sorry, is going to be offered so many things after they're done with the sequel. So those kinds of, I think, just better filmmakers are coming into the horror genre and really elevating this genre, and that speaks volumes about why they're looking at Stephen King stuff to more seriously now, because he is the master of horror, and there's so much in there. As a guy who read all his stuff when I was a teenager, it's incredible to see that you're getting these people coming towards it and wanting to make it and elevate and give it the adaptation it deserves.
Well, that's the thing, is also like Stanley Kubrick was a great filmmaker that worked with Stephen King material back in the day, but he took that material and made it his own, and maybe more filmmakers need the freedom to be able to do that with Stephen King dramas. It's been a different story. You have artists like Frank Darabont and Rob Reiner who are making the dramatic ones, you know, The Green Mile and Shawshank Redemption, and then Rob Reiner obviously doing Stand By Me. So I agree with both y'all, and I'm excited for the future of Stephen King movies at all these different studios. Well, we want to remind you guys at the end of this show, we're going to save some time for your live Twitter questions. So go ahead and start tweeting us right now at Collider Video. Use the hashtag Collider Movie Talk. And no, we're not going to tell you anything about Avengers Infinity War, but you're free to ask if you want. And I want to remind you guys that we have a whole lot of stuff going on this week right here on Collider Video around the release of Avengers Infinity War, including our new show Review Talk is obviously going to have a review of Avengers Infinity War, as will Now, Late, or Never. How do you guys break down a huge, giant 10-year culmination into whether it's one of 3 words? How are you able to do that?
You had to ask that. I've been in a sweat about that since last night, but that is the first review everyone's going to see right off the bat. But we have more coverage coming. So if you want a longer discussion, don't worry, because that's just the first video of a number that are going to hit today, the next few days, all throughout the week.
Yeah, and once we can get into the spoiler discussions, we'll have a spoiler review for you here on Collider Video, as well as Schmoes No Christian and I's review. Non-spoiler is going to be up today on our channel as well. Okay, we're going to tell you guys that it's live Twitter time question, and we're getting a lot of Infinity War questions. This one's actually a good one. It's not like a spoiler one at all. It's from Nick Leitner, and he says, "Hey Collider, is it difficult keeping your reactions vague after seeing something like Infinity War and having to tiptoe around spoilers for the days that follow?" Nick, I'll speak for myself, and I believe my panelists as well, that the hardest part about it is that when you work in an office that pumps out movie content all day on a daily basis, 24/7, but not everybody went to the premiere. Some people are seeing it this morning. Some people are seeing it tonight. Some people are seeing it this weekend. That's where it gets hard, is because we talk about movies all day, so you naturally just want to walk over to somebody's desk and have the conversation, but you have to kind of vet. Somebody, I don't know who it was probably Copster, had the idea to print out a thing that they taped it to every door in the studio that says, "Hey, we're all excited about Infinity War. Keep in mind, not everybody in the studio has seen the movie, so please keep your thoughts to yourself." I think that's a pretty fair play, Perri.
I think so too. It's also, especially when we're talking about our social media reactions, you know, everybody has a different level with spoilers. There are things that are blatant spoilers, but then there's things like, I don't know, and I'm just making this up, so relax, guys. Like 20 minutes in, something happened that I didn't expect.
Right.
You know, that kind of thing where someone's like, well, I didn't want the heads up on that, and I get that too. So vague, super, super vague.
Yeah, I really wanted to add something about the ending on my Twitter, and I was on my tweet rather, and I was like, nope, I don't want to. I want people to experience the ending as they experience it and do their way. I mean, and you're right, Mark. Working around this office, because we respect everyone's opinion here, and we like to hear everyone's opinion. You want to go and talk to them about it, and yet they haven't seen it, you know. And some people, I'm looking at Adam over there, wait 2 or 3 weeks to see new releases, and it's really frustrating, and we can't talk about it. But Adam's really smart. He puts on his headphones and walks out of the room. So I respect that he appreciates that we want to talk about it. So those kinds of things. So yeah, and of course around my friends, I had 20 texts last night about my thoughts on the movie, and I'm like, I can't say anything. I can't say, because this is one movie that I want to everyone that I love and know to walk into and have no words from me other than my tweet. Just go in, experience it yourself, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. And even I feel, because I'm going to see it with my whole crew on Thursday night, I'm like, I have to be like, don't give anything away.
How many?
It's 62.
Oh, not a record.
It's not a
What's
big
the all-time record?
We got some extra tickets. What?
What's the all-time record?
Well, it was for Kate for blockers with K Cannon, there was 131
Whew.
of us. Yeah.
Gosh, that's too many friends. I'm sorry. That's like Twitter followers are nice, Facebook friends are nice. To have real, actual humans that you're friends with in the hundred, that's too many friends. I'm gonna have to give me the list. I'm gonna have to make some cuts. Our next question comes from Tronin, and he says, when you guys go to press screenings for these Marvel movies, they usually include the post-credit scenes, or do they leave them out? It used to be that occasionally they would cut out the post-credit scenes because they didn't want anybody chirping about it. But I will tell you, the more recent Marvel movies that I've been to, they do leave the post-credit scenes in. We have one more question from Jojo Ashun, and he says, if you were to show your 10-year-old movie, if you were to show your 10 Jojo says, if you were to show your 10-year-old self a movie from the future, what movie would you pick?
Whoa.
So whatever year you were 10 years old, you can go to the future from that point. So for me, it'd be 91, and I can pick any movie from the future and show it to myself.
Okay.
I would take The Force Awakens. I would say, hey, there's more stories in this universe coming.
That's a
Get
great
excited,
choice.
kid. And stop eating those Cheetos.
I guess I would show my 10-year-old self the first Avengers movie because I was such a massive I was becoming a massive comic book fan around that time. So, yeah, I guess I would show him that. Or Thor Ragnarok, either one of those two.
All right.
I think I would probably go for something like Rise of the Planet of the Apes, because right around when I was 10 was when not just liking and enjoying movies was starting to click with me on a really strong level, but appreciating the craft of filmmaking. So just to get a sneak peek of all the incredible things to come, I think would have thrilled me at 10.
Well, we all gave nice answers. Now here's my real answer. I would show my 10-year-old self Moneyball, because I'd be like, when this season happens, I want you betting on every Oakland A's game. The fact that they won like 21 in a row, nobody would have ever. I would have cleaned up in Vegas, and I would have opened a casino to rival Biff Tannen's and Back to the Future 2. My name's not Biff. It's merely Mark Ellis. Thank you guys for tuning in to this episode of Collider Movie Talk. I have a special engagement this Saturday night at the Pasadena Ice House, so come on, check that out. For John Rocha and Perri Nemiroff, I am Mark Ellis. We've seen Infinity War. Stay tuned to Collider Video for all the Infinity War content this week. And if we don't get a chance to say hi before you go see the movie, enjoy, kids. Hey everybody, Mark Ellis here. Thanks for watching this episode of Collider Movie Talk. You want to watch more? Then click up here, or you can click right here for more great content from Collider. And if you haven't subscribed to Collider Video, do so right now and share this vid with your friends. Thanks for watching.